1 second. Right, I believe we have some footage that has been taken on a mobile phone. Let's have a look at it.
Look.
A lone drone sweeps over the jagged cliffs of Western Ireland. The footage is steady until the rock face begins to groan. A massive, geometric stone slab slides inward, revealing a darkness that hasn't seen the sun in 5,000 years. The video has sent shockwaves through the scientific community, leaving experts scrambling for answers. Is it a sophisticated hoax, or have we finally caught the Otherworld with its door open? This is the mystery of the Irish Stone Gate. The digital ghost. The coordinates are remote, tucked away in the rain-lashed isolation of the Burren, where the limestone pavement looks more like the surface of the moon than a European coastline. It was here that a hobbyist pilot allegedly captured the unthinkable. In the high-definition footage, the drone hovers with eerie stability, its gimbal locked onto a sheer cliff face. For the first 30 seconds, there is nothing but the rhythmic crash of the Atlantic below. Then the sound changes, a low-frequency vibration that seems to rattle the very sensors of the camera. Slowly, with the mechanical precision of a modern vault, a vertical slab of basalt begins to retreat into the mountain. There is no dust, no rubble, and no sign of primitive labor. It is a clean, automated movement that suggests a level of engineering that shouldn't exist in a landscape defined by Neolithic ruins. The video didn't just go viral, it ignited a digital wildfire. Within 48 hours, the Irish stone door had been dissected by millions. On Reddit and X, amateur sleuths used shadow analysis to argue its authenticity, while others pointed to the unnatural smoothness of the stone's transition as evidence of high-end CGI. Yet the alarm cited by the headlines wasn't just about the pixels on the screen, it was about the location. The footage appears to pinpoint a black spot on topographical maps, a region where GPS signals famously flicker, and geological surveys remain curiously incomplete. Archaeologists, usually the first to dismiss such claims, found themselves in an uncomfortable position. While many labeled it a sophisticated hoax, perhaps a leftover asset from a high-budget film production or a viral marketing stunt, others were bothered by the geometry. The doorway followed the exact proportions of the golden ratio, a mathematical signature found in the most sacred sites of antiquity. If this was a fabrication, it was one designed by someone with a terrifyingly deep knowledge of sacred architecture. If it was real, it represented a structural anomaly that threatened to rewrite the timeline of human technological development. As the footage began to disappear from mainstream platforms due to copyright strikes from unknown entities, the mystery only deepened. Was the alarm coming from a fear of the unknown, or a fear that the public was finally seeing something that was meant to stay hidden in the mist? But to understand why this footage feels so dangerous, we have to look at what's actually hidden in the dirt. Prehistoric precision. To dismiss the drone footage as mere fantasy requires us to ignore a startling reality. Ireland is already home to impossible stone doors. Travel 60 miles east of the viral coordinates, and you find yourself standing before Brúna Bóin, specifically the Great Mound of Newgrange. Built over 5,000 years ago, centuries before the first stone was laid at Stonehenge or the Great Pyramid of Giza, Newgrange is not just a tomb. It is a massive, prehistoric machine made of 200,000 tons of earth and rock. For decades, scientists have been alarmed by the sheer mathematical genius required to construct it. The centerpiece of this alarm is the roof box, a specialized opening situated above the main entrance. It is, for all intents and purposes, a literal door for light. The engineering of the roof box is so precise that it remains one of the greatest archaeological wonders on Earth. Every year during the winter solstice, the sun rises and aligns perfectly with this narrow slit in the stone. For exactly 17 minutes, a beam of golden light travels through the 60-foot passage, illuminating the deepest chamber of the mound with surgical accuracy. This isn't a coincidence of nature. It is a calculated masterpiece of celestial mechanics. The builders understood the wobble of the Earth's axis and the exact degree of the horizon's tilt. If the ancient Irish could program a stone structure to interact with a star 93 million miles away, the idea of a mechanical stone door starts to shift from the realm of science fiction into the realm of forgotten technology. Archaeologists often struggle to explain how these Neolithic people transported the white quartz-facing stones from the Wicklow Mountains over 50 miles away without the use of the wheel or iron tools. More puzzling is the structural integrity of the mound itself. Despite 5 millennia of Irish rain and seismic shifts, the inner chamber of Newgrange remains bone dry. The stones were fitted together using a technique called corbelling, where each layer of stone projects slightly further inward than the one below it, capped by a single massive stone at the top. This design creates a waterproof seal that has never failed. When engineers look at the stone door footage, the alarm stems from a chilling realization. The Neolithic people possessed a mastery of weight, counterbalance, and pressure that we are only beginning to replicate with modern hydraulics. We must also consider the entrance stones found at these sites. At Newgrange, the threshold is guarded by a massive curbstone, carved with intricate, swirling Triskel patterns. To the untrained eye, these are just beautiful designs. To some researchers, they are blueprints or maps, schematic diagrams of energy or movement. In the viral drone footage, observers noted similar, faint geometric etchings on the retreating slab. This suggests that if a door were to exist, it wouldn't be operated by a handle or a key, but perhaps by a specific understanding of vibration or weight distribution. The alarm among the scientific community isn't just about the possibility of a hidden room, it is about the possibility that our ancestors possessed a lost science of stone. If Newgrange is a calendar made of rock, could there be other sites designed as vaults? The precision found at Brú na Bóinne proves that the ancient inhabitants of Ireland did not just live on the land, they commanded it, bending the very geology of the island to their will with a sophistication that defies the primitive label we try to force upon them. If the ancients could move the sun, moving a stone door becomes the least of our mysteries. The Hollow Kingdom. To understand the dread that accompanies the sight of a shifting stone, one must look beyond the geology and into the blood of Irish identity. Long before the first historians arrived, the island was said to be ruled by the Tuatha De Danann, the people of the goddess Danu. According to the Labor Gabala Erin, or the Book of Invasions, these were not mere mortals. They arrived on the Irish coast in a great cloud of mist, bringing with them 4 magical treasures and a level of knowledge that appeared indistinguishable from sorcery. They were described as masters of the elements, possessing weapons that never missed and cauldrons that never ran dry. But it is not their arrival that haunts the modern landscape. It is their disappearance. When the Milesians, the ancestors of the modern Irish, invaded the island, a great war of magic and steel ensued. Realizing that the surface world was no longer theirs to command, the Tuatha De Danann struck a bargain. They agreed to divide the land of Ireland. The Milesians would take the world above, and the Danann would take the world below. They retreated into the Shee, the ancient mounds and hills that dot the Irish countryside, and closed the doors behind them. From that moment on, Ireland became a dual-layered reality. To the casual observer, a green hill is just a topographical feature. To the student of folklore, it is a fortress, a palace, and a laboratory for a race that exists just out of phase with our own time. This transition from physical rulers to the hidden people is where the viral drone footage strikes a cultural nerve. The scientists who are supposedly alarmed in these headlines are often standing on the shoulders of 19th century antiquarians who noted that many Irish mounds showed signs of being sealed from the inside. There are accounts of farmers attempting to excavate small mounds on their property, only to find the stones fitted with such airtight precision that their tools shattered. The folklore insists that these entrances only open during thin times, the solstices, or the festival of Samhain, when the veil between our world and theirs becomes permeable. The drone footage, showing a stone slab retreating into a mountain, is a literal manifestation of the opening of the Sidhe, a terrifying event in Gaelic myth that signals the return of a power we are ill-equipped to handle. Even today, this belief is so potent, it halts multi-million-dollar infrastructure projects. In 1999, a motorway in County Clare was famously rerouted because a local folklorist warned that a specific hawthorn bush was a fairy path used by the Danann to travel between their underground realms. The engineers, despite their degrees and modern equipment, chose to respect the superstition rather than risk the bad luck associated with disturbing a hidden gate. This is the true source of the alarm, a subconscious recognition that the Irish landscape is a hollowed-out shell. If the drone footage is real, it suggests that the Tuatha De Danann never left. They simply waited. They are the people under the hills, living in a subterranean kingdom that operates on a different clock. When we see a stone door slide open in a desolate cliffside, we aren't just looking at an archaeological find. We are looking at a breach in a treaty that has held for 3,000 years, proving that the kingdom we thought we conquered was merely hiding in plain sight. In Ireland, myths aren't just stories. They are maps to places scientists are only now starting to find. The Cave of Cats. While many dismiss the idea of hidden doors as folklore, there is one place in County Roscommon that proves the gateway between worlds has a physical, terrifying location. This is Rathcrogan, the ancient capital of Connaught, and home to Oweynagat, the Cave of the Cats. For centuries, this site has been referred to by scholars and locals alike as the literal gate to hell. But to archaeologists, the alarm isn't about demons. It's about a structural anomaly that defies logical explanation. The entrance to Oweynagat is not a natural cave mouth. It is a man-made souterrain, or stone-lined passage built into a natural limestone fissure. What makes this site so unsettling is that the ceiling of the entrance is constructed from recycled Ogham stones, ancient Irish pillars marked with a secret, linear alphabet. The use of these stones suggests that the builders were intentionally using sacred keys to reinforce the entrance. In the viral drone footage, observers pointed to the strange vertical grooves on the sliding stone door, claiming they mirrored the Ogham script found at Rathcrogan. To the scientific community, Oweynagat represents a bridge between the physical and the metaphysical. It is a place where real, tangible archaeology meets the myth of the Otherworld. During the festival of Samhain, the precursor to modern Halloween, it was believed that the stone doors of Oweynagat would swing wide, allowing the Morrigan, the goddess of war, and her army of monstrous creatures to spill out into the mortal realm. The alarm raised by modern scientists at such sites involves the discovery of strange atmospheric and electromagnetic readings. Researchers using ground-penetrating radar around Rathcrogan have identified massive, undetected circular structures buried beneath the soil, some of which appear to have voids that lead deeper into the earth than natural geology should allow. If a drone were to catch a stone door opening in such a location, it wouldn't just be a mechanical curiosity. It would be the opening of a pressure valve for a site that has been sealed for a reason. Oweynagat reminds us that in Ireland, the entrance to the below is often disguised as a simple hole in the ground or a pile of rocks. But once you step inside, the temperature drops, the compass spins, and the geometry of the walls begins to feel intentionally designed. This is the physical reality that lends weight to the drone mystery. We are talking about a landscape where the ground is literally honeycombed with thousands of souterrains, underground stone chambers whose purpose remains a subject of intense debate. Were they storage lockers, hiding places, or, as the folklore suggests, airlocks for a different kind of civilization? When we see a clean-edged basalt slab retreating into a cliff, we are seeing the modern version of the Oweynagat legend. We are seeing a gate of hell that has been upgraded for the digital age, reminding us that the deepest secrets of the Irish soil aren't just buried. They are guarded by the very stones themselves. The deeper you go, the more you realize. The earth in Ireland has a pulse. Geometric giants. The most compelling evidence for a mechanical stone door often points toward the north, to the jagged shores of County Antrim. Here lies the Giant's Causeway, a geological masterpiece consisting of 40,000 interlocking basalt columns. To the scientist, these are the result of an ancient volcanic fissure eruption, where molten lava cooled rapidly and contracted into perfect hexagonal pillars. But to the naked eye and the lens of a drone, the causeway doesn't look like an accident of nature. It looks like a precision-engineered pavement. This is the exact location where many of the alarmed scientist videos are set. And for good reason. The geometry is so perfect, it feels intentional. The mystery deepens when you look at formations like the Giant's Organ, where the columns rise 60 feet into the air like the pipes of a cathedral, or the Wishing Chair, a throne-like arrangement of stone that seems carved for a titan. The alarm in the scientific community regarding these structures often centers on the theory of cymatics, the study of how sound frequency affects matter. Some fringe researchers suggest that the basalt columns, with their unique mineral composition, could act as a massive acoustic resonator. If the viral drone footage shows a stone door sliding open, it suggests a mechanism triggered not by a physical hand, but by a specific frequency or key of sound. This brings us to the honeycombing effect. Because the columns fit together with zero-tolerance gaps, they create a surface that is virtually airtight. In the world of high-end engineering, we struggle to achieve this kind of stone-on-stone seal without modern gaskets or lubricants. Yet, the causeway has stood against the punishing Atlantic for 60 million years. If a section of this coastline were to move, as seen in the viral footage, it would imply that the natural columns are actually part of a much larger, buried machine. The alarm is the realization that we may have spent centuries walking over the roof of a structure we mistook for a mountain. In Ireland, the line between natural formation and ancient architecture is so thin it practically doesn't exist. We call it geology because the alternative, that the very coast is a moving part of an ancient vault, is too disruptive to our understanding of the world to accept. A mystery explained. The true source of the alarm isn't found in a digital glitch or a pixelated frame of drone footage. It lies in the silence that follows. When we see a stone door slide open in the Irish wilderness, we are witnessing the collision of two eras, the hyper-connected digital present and a prehistoric past that refused to stay buried. While skeptics will rightfully point to the ease of modern video manipulation, they cannot so easily dismiss the physical anomalies that define the Irish landscape. From the solar-aligned chambers of Newgrange to the gate to hell at Rathcrogan, the island is a graveyard of technologies we can no longer explain. We find ourselves at a crossroads of belief. If these doors are real, they represent a breach in our understanding of human history. They suggest that the Tuatha De Danann were not just myths, but perhaps a highly advanced civilization that utilized the Earth's own seismic and acoustic energy to create a world beneath our feet. The scientific community is alarmed because, if these gates are beginning to move, it implies that the thin places, those areas where the veil between the physical and the metaphysical is most transparent, are becoming active once again. It suggests that the geological sleep of Ireland's ancient monuments was merely a pause, not an end. The viral footage serves as a mirror. It reflects our deep-seated suspicion that we are not the first masters of this planet, and we certainly aren't the only ones inhabiting it. Whether the stone door is a masterpiece of CGI or a genuine mechanical marvel, it has successfully forced us to look back at the hills with a sense of wonder and trepidation. In Ireland, the land remembers. It remembers the prayers of the Neolithic builders, the magic of the Danann, and the blood of the kings. If you ever find yourself hiking the desolate cliffs of Donegal or the limestone barrens of the Burren, and you hear a low, rhythmic groan beneath the wind, don't just check your drone's signal. Look closer at the rock face. In a land built on the Otherworld, the most terrifying realization isn't that the door might be fake. It's that one day, the door might actually open, and we won't be the ones holding the key. The door may have closed for now, But the mystery of Ireland's hollow hills is only beginning. Subscribe to the channel for more stories like this.